to Soapy. I'm Rebecca Budig.
And I'm Greg Rikaart. And on today's show, Days of Our Lives star my buddy, Paul Telfer.
Paul Telfer. Didn't he recently beat you at the 2025 Daytime Emmys? Wait, there he is.
Oh, there he is.
With the Emmy that you didn't get.
Okay, yes. Paul Telfer won the Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series Emmy Award, and I didn't.
Yeah. You know, I'm actually curious to ask him about that because apparently he really used the loss of his mother in the scenes that he submitted, and I'm sure that was really hard.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to talk to him about that. And I mean, I know we're joking, but I could not have lost to a nicer guy. He is such a mensch. I absolutely adore working with him. Leo is obsessed with every guy in Salem, but at the very top of that list is Xander, so we get to have a lot of fun together.
Is it because he has his shirt off all the time?
That's, I'm sure, a big part of it.
Maybe he'll take his shirt off.
And the
for us.
accent. I
Yeah,
mean,
the
yeah,
accent.
he's the whole package.
Yes.
But he will be back with us after the break. Paul Telfer. Please welcome to the show the one, the only Paul Telfer.
Hello, Paul.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Thanks for being here. My favorite Sandy.
Yes, let me just say congratulations on beating Greg for the Daytime Emmy Award.
As nice as it was to get the award, just thrashing Greg was the
That was really gratifying, wasn't it?
Are you guys?
I heard that it was actually mostly out of pity that they nominated him.
Well, you actually had him in your speech. I thought that was so sweet. You know who else you mentioned in your speech? You mentioned Gian. G. He mentioned Gian, who is props. She was props at all my children.
Oh, okay.
So I worked with her, and I was like, he just mentioned Gian.
And in the audience, we were all like, great, none of us are ever going to get a prop again as quickly as Paul is going to get a prop.
I will say, the very next time that I had food in a scene, it was delicious. So they put a bit more effort into it, I think.
Would you like some fresh sushi? I could not have lost that award to a nicer guy. I was thrilled for you. There's a really fun photo that was making its rounds in our, we have a Days of Our Lives cast thread that you are not a part of. And
Yes.
and
Nice.
and there's this great screen grab of you up on stage, and it's got all of us just beaming with joy and happiness for you. And it was such a genuine, real moment of joy for all of us. And I was going to make the joke that, like, that's me really acting.
Right.
But that's not the truth, because I was thrilled for you.
But it just meant the world to me. You know, awards are weird, as you know, and you've already got one, and it's all very strange. But seeing that, feeling it at the time, because I just kind of froze. I thought I could be really cool about it, and I could not be cool about it.
Oh, you seemed cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, you did.
I just blacked out, and Lindsay had to scream at me to, like, get up and go do the thing. And so when I saw later on the videos and everything of just everybody leaving to their feet, you especially, like, pointing, it meant so much to me. I do like my job, and I really love the people that I work with. So it's nice to see some of it reciprocated.
Yeah. Well, we're going to cover a lot of ground, but let's talk a little more about that moment. So Lindsay has to sort of, like, get you up and out of it. Lindsay Godfrey, who of course plays Sarah on Days of Our Lives, who we love and adore, she has to sort of get you up and out of your seat.
Well, so can we swear on this show?
You can fucking
do
try.
whatever you want.
Okay, so, you know, it was a relatively long event,
Yes.
right? And we hadn't been winning much. And so I'd kind of forgotten why I was there. And so when they announced the category, I went, oh, shit. Like, and Lindsay was like, I was like, oh, no, this is it. Oh, God. And so I got a little bit of, like, dread or whatever, just because up until that point, I'd, like, learned how to enjoy the show to whatever degree I could. But now it was like, this is where it will either be really fun or not so much fun, or. And so when they were reading out the names, I never thought for a second that any of the three of us were going to win, because I just assumed it would go to one of the other shows.
You felt like we'd cancel
and the
each
vote
other out?
Yeah, it'd split between us. And, you know, I would have loved for you or Eric or myself to have won, obviously. But I was just ready for it to be one of the other two guys, and I would have clapped and been polite. So I believe I actually mouthed
Peter Bergman?
I just went like as he was about, and you know, 'cause Paul, Peter, and so when it stopped being Peter and turned into Paul, it really was just like a little malfunction happened, and I think that's why Linz was like, "Go on," because you know how time gets a bit weird anyway with all the adrenaline, and so I was just, oh God, and so I hadn't I didn't want to write a speech because I didn't want to get home at like 2 a.m. or whatever, reach for my phone and find my speech and be like, so I didn't write one. And when I was in New York for the show doing the Broadcasting Cable Hall of Fame, Jim Reynolds was there and I got to spend the whole day with him, and he's just an amazing guy, as you know.
Lovely guy.
And at some point, he just came up to me and was like, have you written something for the Emmys? And this is like weeks before the Emmys. I'm like, no, Jim, it's ages away and I'm not going to win, so what's the point? He's like, I think you should think about what you want to say. And I was like, uh-oh, yeah, that's a good point. At least think about it. So I had like Chat GPT style bullet points in my head, but I couldn't quite work out the order of them. But that was all I had.
And Gian was in that bullet point system?
Well, I knew yeah, kind of, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I knew I was just worried, as you will notice, once I get going, I can't stop talking. And it was the one thing my wife was worried about, that I'd get up there, it'd be like, blah, 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 for ages, and they'd have to play off the music and literally get the hook from the Apollo Theatre to like pull me off. So I was just like, don't talk too much, don't talk too much. And the Academy had been drilling it into us, like, the speeches must be 30 seconds long and all of that. And you're just like, okay. So I felt this pressure just to say it as quickly as possible. And then luckily, they played the scene. And so I had a minute while I was just stood there holding the thing to like get my breathing under control. And okay, what order am I going to say these things in? And so then, luckily it just kind of came out.
Yeah.
And
adrenaline's a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah, but it was also like, I had no idea what I had said until I got backstage. And even that, so, there's all these, you get a little email like, if you win, here's what will happen, kind of thing. And I'd read it, and I knew what I was supposed to do. I still did everything wrong. I turned the wrong way as if to go back to the audience. I kept, I poked myself in the eye with the Emmy on my very first interview. Like, lots of things went wrong. But I was so, just like, happy, I guess, like overjoyed that I didn't realize what I'd said until I was shown it. And I was just so relieved that I'd managed to thank Carmen first. And really did cover almost all the bases except for thanking the fans. That's the only thing I really wanted to do. Because they were there.
You can do that, you can do that now.
Thanks, guys.
But for it being so off the cuff, it was so heartfelt and so sweet. And I guess it's a good segue because although I feel like there's more gold to mine about how I want to like tease you about not having taken home that trophy that night, but we can always go back to it. But when you talked about the way you talked about your mom, and the way in which her love of soap villains, and will you talk a little bit about your relationship with her and how that sort of has influenced the way in which you play Xander, and we'll talk about Xander.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, we don't really interact with the writers too much on these shows. I don't know if it's different on the other shows, but on days we don't get a lot of time to hang out with the writers.
We don't.
So we have no influence. But to the degree that I ever met any of the writers or could talk about them in interviews and stuff, I would always like try and, just drop hints that I would love it if they gave Xander a mum. Because, Xander for the most part has been kind of just on the edge of everything. Like he's some weird invented nephew of Victor. And so for whatever reason, the show liked what I was doing, kept me around long enough to be like, all right, we should maybe try and weave him into the show a bit more and give him some more connections. And so I really always thought that revealing who his mother is and doing a storyline with that would not only help with that side of things, of like making him just feel a bit more like a part of the fabric of the show, but also I'd be capable of doing some of my best work because, we move very fast at days. And I personally kind of internalized the production speed a little bit. We were talking earlier about, not wanting to slow things down, not wanting to be the one that slows things down. And I'm very kind of guilty of that, where I will almost sacrifice how deep I could go in a scene just to
make sure
to not
get a
demand
clean
the
take.
extra 30 seconds,
Sure.
like, just to get there kind of thing. Sometimes, let's just do it. It'll be good enough. And I knew that because of my own personal history, anything to do with Xander's mother would allow me to get to those places a lot quicker than usual, because 20-something years ago, I suffered a really horrible bereavement when my mum passed away. And having that all like loaded and having never really used it in my work in the early part of my career because I just wasn't ready to, and then in the later part of my career, or at least on days, just not feeling it was appropriate material to access that,
Right.
if you know what I mean, Whereas all of a sudden I had no choice, because not only was the storyline about my mother, about Xander's mother, but there was just these little like echoes of my own mother in what was going on. And then to have that plus Lindsay, who is so incredible at that particular kind of emotional work, to have her there to kind of like fight off the production a little bit and be like, she needs another 30 seconds. You know, just she knows me well enough to know when how far I could go, and wasn't going to let it happen until I was there. And so, yeah, it was incredibly cathartic to do. It was incredibly relieving to feel that I'd done a decent enough job with it, because I didn't want to get those scenes and then mess it up, if you know what I mean, or not go far enough. And then to be nominated for it, yeah, it was, that was plenty, honestly, just to have it be recognized and feel like, well, that is the best I can do. So if they don't nominate that, then fine. And so for it to come all the way around to actually winning the thing and being able to, you know, just thank my mum, even though I don't necessarily, you know, whatever, but like to feel that any part of her is still present in my work was really profound. And I guess I didn't realize how much it all meant to me until I had it in my hand. And I got this opportunity to say, oh God, I'm gonna go. I got this opportunity to say something nice about my mum. Sorry, mate. Okay. Because she never got to see anything I did. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Before she died, I did 2 very poor British sitcoms. And that involved a lot of nudity. And,
I'm shocked.
Yeah, right. How'd you get into the business? Well, and so she, you know, and almost immediately after she passed away, the first good thing that I did was released. So she didn't get to see any of that stuff. But at least she knew that was like on my way. Like I was on my way doing the kind of things I wanted to do. Yeah. So, and to the villain of it all, I guess that felt like kind of a full circle thing as well, because I didn't used to want to do a soap opera. And if I was going to do a soap opera, then I wanted it to be a really, really fun character. And I was so lucky that that's just the way it shook out. I ended up with a really fun character who's gets to be a villain, but also gets to be all vulnerable and sweet and confusing
and
to the audience and playful and cheeky, but then really horrible and scary again. And that's exactly the kind of characters and actors that my mum loved. Yeah. So, yeah, it felt really good.
Seems like it was all sort of meant to be. Your mom is like, you know, I believe they have a hand in a lot of things, and they're still with you, you know. So that's amazing.
It really was how it felt.
You speak of Lindsay like she's, I know you're married in real life, but it's like she's such a great partner. And it is funny.
She's a great work wife.
It is funny on these shows how we work with these people for so long. They do become a part, it's almost like they are like your boyfriend or your husband or your wife.
Well, it's like you instill,
and you're lucky when you have that connection with somebody.
I mean, I'm super spoiled between, you know, my main co-workers throughout over the years have been, you know, Lindsay, Emily O'Brien, and Stacey Hyduck, who are like, you know, 3 of the most incredible actresses, soaps or not soaps. Like they're just all amazing.
And
in
Suzanne
ways.
Rogers.
And Suzanne as well.
Oh,
and Suzanne.
Yeah.
So to, again, with a character like this, where he is kind of, he can be nasty and he can be kind of unsympathetic, to have him be viewed through the lens of these amazing women helps get him over to the audience, I think. So I've been very lucky in that regard.
Well, yeah, there's when you have it's, I don't know, I always love to ask people what they think chemistry is, right? Because I think it's different, everyone has a different take on it, but I think, in my opinion, at the core of when there is chemistry between 2 actors or 2 characters, it's because there is a level of trust, because you don't have to have the same styles, you don't have to have the same preparation, but you have to trust that we are in this scene together and we are here working for ourselves and for one another, and we just want to put the best thing out there. And you and Lindsay have it in spades, you and Emily have it like gangbusters. So yeah. Anyway, I just want to say, like, I was already thrilled for you before all of that, but it could not have happened to a nicer guy. So truly, truly, I'm so happy for you.
Well, now I feel bad about all the jokes I made before it happened, because I didn't think any of us were going to win. I kept making jokes to Eric and Greg, saying, well, I just think the classy thing to do would be to step aside, because you already have one. Do you know what I mean? and you didn't. So I'm glad that I won.
Was it? Yeah.
Funny.
But it's funny. And we also did sort of share that I was in the same boat insofar as I was thrilled for the nomination. That meant a lot to me. It was my first lead actor nomination. No intention of winning. To the point where, thank goodness it was a long show, because somewhere around hour 1, I was like, I should probably think about something to say, because I had not at all. I really just thought, I'm here for the ride and this is fine. And it was, and it truly was. Like, I was, no disappointment, nothing. Anyway, moving on.
Well, I want to mention, you said something earlier, you said that you didn't really want to do a soap necessarily.
Right.
So like, when this came along, were you just open to it because that's where you were in your life, or what happened?
It's a bunch of different things at once, but honestly, it's Marnie. Like Marnie Sater, our amazing casting director, was very patient, didn't take
Everyone
it personally.
comes on and praises Marnie, who is the casting director for Days of Our Lives. And she was at YNR, yes, Young and the Restless.
Could not be more lovely, and she's very good at her job. Too good, actually. Like, you know, whenever they have to replace somebody and like a very similar looking person walks in, you're like, ugh. Like, you know, she must have like every you know, handsome dude over 6 feet tall. Like,
okay?
Exactly. Like,
She's got a file called Paul Telfer.
Exactly.
Rikaart.
But no, she's wonderful, and didn't take it personally that my agents or managers kept turning down either auditions or offers to be on the show, because my first real big job over here was this Hercules miniseries that I did for NBC.
Wait, was Spartacus not here?
Well, that was a USA network, which I don't know if that exists in the same way. It used to. It's all run by a different part of Universal now, as far as I know. But it just felt, well, also what happened with Spartacus was they had just changed a bunch of people at the executive level, and it wasn't their baby, so it kind of just got, I mean, it was an amazing job to be on, and I learned a lot doing it, but Hercules felt like a whole different thing that was very much an NBC situation. And so off the back of that, I got to meet all the different casting people throughout the entire organization of NBC. And like the last people I met were Romani and I think it was Greg Mang at the time. And they were lovely and, you know, very interested.
They were casting Days of Our Lives at the time, yeah.
Marnie was casting and Greg was an executive producer?
Yeah. And it was just like a general meeting, and this must have been 2002, 2003, something like that. And, you know, I just started a mini-series and my man just thought I was up for like Superman and Batman and Avatar and all these things. None of them happened, but we didn't know that at the time. And so they just kept saying no. And I'd gotten to the point where, I want to act. I want to work. And it's all very well nearly getting all these huge jobs, but at a certain point you want to work with people that want to work with you. And they, like I said, I was just waiting for the right, I didn't want to be like a nice doctor guy, and I didn't want to be like an ineffectual policeman, or really the kind of roles that the goodies have to be on our shows. And then Marnie sent through this thing, and it wasn't a contract role. It was just a few episodes playing Victor's hitman henchman, Damon, which was the same character name that I'd played on NCIS. I was like, yeah, this feels like a weird little good omen. I'll just go in. And I remember like just really liking her as soon as I re-met Marnie. And she didn't even take me on the day. I was like, oh, God, I feel like I'm a bit long in the tooth to be doing pre-reads or whatever, like an untaped audition. And as soon as I finished it, she was like, that was great. When can you start next week? And I was just like, well, you're not even going to tape it? And she was like, well, it's up to me. So you can do it if you want to do it. And I was like, okay, I want to do it. And then I remember being really scared the night before because all I knew about soaps was how fast they move and how much dialogue there is. Oh, well, I've actually skipped over a really fun chunk here.
Please.
So maybe 6-7 years before that, I didn't even live in LA yet. I had, so like I first meet Marnie in like 2003, and then fast forward like 7 years, around 2010. Carmen's in New York about to...
Your wife, Carmen Cusack.
My wife, Carmen Cusack, two-time Tony nominee.
Two-time Tony nominee.
Also one-time Grammy nominee. But she was about to start doing the national tour of South Pacific at the Lincoln Center. And so she was in New York, and I'd flown from our place in London to LA for pilot season for yet another job I didn't get, and was about to head to New York with my tail between my legs, frustrated that I'd struck out on pilot season yet again, when my managers call up and they're like, hey, you know we don't really want you to do a soap opera, but Days of Our Lives is offering you some money to come and be on standby for the role of EJ because the person playing it is just having a potential medical issue. They're not sure if you'll be able to make it into work or not. And so I said, yes, that sounds amazing. And then 7 scripts arrived at my door.
Oh my God.
And I honestly thought it was a joke, like a prank. I was like, I can't be in all these scripts. And they're looking in and then it's like masses of dialogue in each day. And I had been told, it was a different production model back then, I suppose, because I was told that they would know by 11 a.m. each morning if they were going to need me or not. So at 11 a.m., I should ditch whatever script I was memorizing and move on to the next one. And so I tried to do that for 2 days and just couldn't memorize the line. I couldn't do it back then.
Did they ever call you in?
Well, spoiler, no, thank God, because it got all the way to Friday, and I remember looking at my phone and it going like 10:58, 10:59, 11, 11:01. My phone rings. It's my manager's going, "Go get your money," and I was like, "Really?" Like,
I want that job.
It was amazing. So I remember going there.
Oh my God!
And so again, it's Greg Meng and Marnie sat there, and they slide the check across. I'm like, "Thank you very much. That's brilliant. Paid for all of my pilot season. Fantastic. Thank you." Would you like to be on the show? And I was like, absolutely not. Like, that was absolutely just impossible. It just seemed impossible. I don't know how anybody could do it. But then, 10 years later, 6, 7, 8 years later, just a slightly better, more efficient actor, and I felt like I could do it. And then I had that like soft, like dipping my toe in to be Victor's henchman. Did like 5 or 6 episodes of that. And didn't hear anything for like a month. I was just really hoping that it would just be that and I could do, I don't know, like 20 episodes a year, get my health insurance, do other things. This could be great. They're like, no, we want you to do a 1 year, or well, a 2-year contract. I said, no, let's just do 1 year. They said yes, and then they fired me after 3 months. But it all worked.
Who were the writers that created Xander?
It was a team. Well, it was like the team was the fans' nickname for the team was Tomsil, so I'm going to say it was
Tom something
or something Tom.
Who is it?
Gary Tomlin. Thank you. It's a very long time ago now.
Yeah. My
Gary Tomlin. Sorry, Gary.
Yeah.
I never met him. I talked to him on the phone one time, and he told me Xander's a psychopath, and he can be very nice and very mean in the same scene. I was like, can do.
That's so funny though, to go like from all this agonizing over it, get a year contract, and then 3 months in and you're gone. So what was that like for you? Because I mean, then you commit, right? You've committed to it, and then. Well,
I remember. So I thought I had a 1 year contract, and but I was still, I would never take that for granted. I was working my little butt off, and just trying to get up to speed, and feeling like I was doing a decent enough, hoping that I was doing a good job, and. He might have been gone by the time you. But do you remember Prop Albert? Albert that used to do the props.
Yes.
Lovely guy.
Yes.
And was one of the few people back then who would just give you like little pep talks and little words of encouragement kind of thing, which I always appreciated because the show's moving so fast and no one's holding your hand kind of thing. And I remember doing some scene and he liked it. He was like, "Hey, you're doing a good job. I think they're going to keep you around." I was like, "Well, I have a 1 year contract." He's like, "Uh-huh." And I was like, "What does that mean?" And then a few weeks go by, and I remember I was working with Ariane Zucker a lot of the time, and she'd really taken me under her wing, and was, again, another person I'd add to that list of how lucky I've been with the people that paired me with. But I'd always, like, anytime Xander was doing something super awful, like trying to cook her in an oven or whatever I was up to, I was like, I don't know if I can come back from this. She's like, "Don't worry about it. We've all done terrible things on this show. You're fine. You're this, you're that." I was like, "Okay." And then, sure enough, 3 weeks later, I finish a scene and one of the ADs was like, "Hey, could you just pop up to Albert's office?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." Didn't think any more of it, walked into the office, but there's already a vibe, and then I sit down, I'm like, "Well, this doesn't feel like I'm not getting fired." And he just went, and as soon as he did that with his head, I was like, "Wait, really? What?" I was just like, "No way." I think I actually laughed at the time, because I just, like you say, because I'd agonized about it so much.
I had the same
experience
though when I was General Hospital. It was like I was like, wait, what? Really?
That
wait,
wasn't
really?
That wasn't
Wait,
the problem.
what?
It was whether I wanted to do it. Like you can't. Yeah. But
it's
to be fair, at the time, even he said, "Look, it's nothing you've done, and we want to get you back, and hopefully we'll have you back sooner than later." And I was like, "Well, I'll be a lot more expensive like, when that time comes around." Wasn't true. And yeah, so yeah, I remember just driving home, very upset. Carmen was actually in Chicago at that point doing the First Wives Club, so I was also alone. So it was just like, and I didn't want to tell her, but I was like, I've got to tell her, I've lost my job. Oh no, it just felt awful, embarrassing. And I remember Marnie calling me up, and she was all teary, just saying, this is not how we wanted this to go, and we're gonna get you back. And I was like, okay. And then, but sure enough, they did. And I will say, 20 odd years into the career now, there's been plenty of times over the years that I've been on shows, oh, we love you, you're so great. How has no one snapped you up before? We're going to get you back. We're going to write you back, and it never happened.
Yeah, I've been
Whereas
told
on
that too.
days,
Yes.
everything they've ever said to me has come true. Not necessarily when I wanted it to or how I wanted it to, but they've made everything they've said come to pass.
Also, is that the only acting job that you had ever been fired from?
Well,
Do tell.
it was the only screen acting job I'd ever been fired from. I'd gotten fired off of 2 video games right before it, which was part of why it was just so, and it wasn't even that I got fired off them. They're just, I don't know if you've worked on games, but
No.
I've never gotten hired on games, which is why.
Yeah, I know.
But you're just like a visual asset
Yeah.
to them. So like, I didn't even get, one of the ones I referred to being fired on, I wasn't. I got to finish the entire thing. They just took my head and put it on somebody else's body, which has never happened before
Wait,
or
what?
since. I know.
The body
Wait,
was the
your-
problem?
I know, right?
Your body?
It was very odd.
Okay, wait.
Yeah, that was a confusing one.
You talked about your wife and how she was away. And for those that don't know, your wife is a Broadway star, basically, right? So you travel, or she travels a bit.
Yeah, but I'm always chasing after her.
So
wherever she is,
yeah. So how do you make that work? That's hard. I mean, it's hard to have a marriage and also be apart from each other.
I mean, it's all hard though, isn't it? I mean,
Right.
staying together for a long time, with,
How do you manage it?
Well, so we had always been, when we first got together, it was very convenient because we lived around the corner from each other. And that was kind of the joke.
Where was that? In
North London.
In London.
So Carmen's from Texas, but she spent 14 years in the UK. And that's really where she started her career, which is kind of an unusual pathway to Broadway.
Yeah.
And she had already played all the big roles in the West End before she even debuted on Broadway. And early on, I'm an actor, she's an actress. I think the first time we really met, I served her in a restaurant, very much like a cliched waiter-actor guy.
Yes.
And then within a couple of months of us getting together, I booked Spartacus, which meant I was going to be away for 4 months in Bulgaria. And so that was longer than we'd been together at that point. And, Carmen was just like, well, great knowing you, kid. Like, she just assumed I was going to go off to Bulgaria and meet some Bulgarian girl and have Bulgarian babies. I don't know what but she wrote me this lovely little card that was like, so happy and proud that this opportunity. Just follow your soul is what she put. Like, and I remember at the time just being like, oh, that's it. This is the girl for me. Like the fact that she just took that initiative to protect herself and me and have no expectations. And I was already in love with her. And so it just became, obvious that I was going to find a way to make the long distance relationship work. And so the way I made it work in Bulgaria was I spent all my per diem on phone cards so I could call her every day. Because
So sweet.
back then Bulgaria was still, you couldn't even use their money outside of Bulgaria at the time. And that became a little bit of the rhythm of our early relationship was she'd be away for a few months and I'd try and visit her. I'd be away for a few months, she'd try and visit me. And what I found, especially in the early going of a relationship, not being able to see each other all the time is actually a little bit of a bonus because you're like yearning for each other, and you can build all of that, And then when you are together, you cherish the time and you've got so much pent up excitement to be together that, as long as you don't ruin it with your behavior, like it can only cement things together even more. And so that's kind of, we've never lost that.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
don't
it's
think you have to ask her.
amazing.
But
Well,
yeah.
it's also super
amazing.
healthy, right? That you can support one another's lives that are
Yeah.
that are intertwined and support each other, the part of each other's lives that are separate.
Absolutely. And our careers are different enough where, I can have insight into what she's doing, but still be you know, entertained by her stories kind of thing. It's never just like, oh, here we go again, another, you know, if we were both doing the exact same job, it might just, oh, we're really going to whine and get about daytime, you know, schedules again. Whereas like her problems are actually really interesting. When she encounters some professional problem or whatever, it's like, oh, that would never happen at my job. How is, you know, how's that possible kind of thing?
That's what I love about being married to a writer. It's sort of like that angle of it. We're doing the similar things, but it's a different angle.
But it's not the same.
So there's a great Playbill article that's primarily about Carmen, but it's really about you, the two of you and your relationship. And it talks about the ways in which you helped her through a time in her career when she felt like she wanted to sort of cash in and just give it up. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to speak for you, but there was a gap, right, between Hercules and Spartacus and when the steady work was coming your way. And did she ever have to be that person for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's kind of what I use now when she's unhappy, you know, like if she's going through, you know, because theatre almost went away completely, you know, with COVID and everything. And it's still like kind of clawing its way back to what it was prior to the pandemic. It's one of the things I'll say to her sometimes when she's turning in on herself a little bit about things not being quite the way she would hope them to be. I was like, well, did you blame me for those years where I couldn't get a job, or when I was getting fired off of, you know, some video game that never even got made in the end? Like, that wasn't my fault, right? You never thought it was my fault. And she was like, no, of course not. I was like, well, why can't you give yourself that same grace? Like, why can't the way you are to other people, like be kind to yourself, babe, you know? And so that's been kind of useful, but also just, it's these kind of, like, I'm a really big fan of hers. Like, you know, I always had a crush on her from the moment I met her, and then fell deeply in love with her. But also, like, the first time I saw her perform, I was like, oh shit, like, she's really good. So for me, when, you know, all the Tony stuff happened and all that was like picking up steam, it just felt like reality catching up, or like the universe catching up, you know, or finally reconciling to the way I had always perceived her. So yeah, it's I don't know. My dad always told me that. Sorry, I'm going to well up again because it's actually our wedding anniversary today.
Yeah,
happy anniversary. We're going out for dinner tonight. It's going to be great. Well, 13, funnily enough, but lucky for some.
Is your dad still?
My dad's still
going. Still around. So what did he say?
Oh, sorry. He just told me when, you know, so I met Carmen maybe a year before my mum passed away, and he was the one who told my mum that, oh, Paul really likes this girl. Like, this might be the one for Paul, kind of thing. So, you know, not to like put pressure on her, but just be nice when Carmen shows up at the house. Don't be Tiger Mom or whatever. And all he told me was like, when it's right, it's easy. It'll be easy. It's not going to be a lot of hard work. Like, you'll just know. And so yeah, he was correct. I'm not saying everything's easy all the time, but
well,
you know.
13 years, it's like there's bound to be ups and downs.
Well, it's 13 years of marriage, but what I like about this now is that now we've been married longer than we dated or whatever. You know, like we had a very long engagement.
How long did you date?
Well, we got together in 2003 and we didn't get married until 2012.
Wow.
So it was a long.
Oh wow.
You know,
yeah. So you've been together a long time.
Yeah.
We
Quite a long time.
Rob and I were together for 10 years before we got married. For us, it was different. We couldn't get married, but still. But it's same thing, like a long...
We did use that excuse for a while, like, well, we won't get married until everybody can get married.
That's a good one. But also, I think when you date, when you are not married for as long as a decade, you really sort of... By the time we got married, I'm like, no one's going anywhere. We've gotten through a lot of any of the stuff that can often lead to marriages ending. But in a similar way... I say to Rob when he's hard on himself, I use my son, but I say, talk to yourself the way you would talk to Monty.
Exactly.
If Monty had a quote unquote failure, would you like say that he's never going to succeed again? Like, you know, you would be kind and, you know, just speak to about yourself and to yourself the way you do to those you love the most. So.
You're a good partner too, Craig.
Yes, that's what I was getting at.
No, I'm kidding. He was talking about the Playbill article, but I want to talk about the Playgirl article.
I was going to get there.
So, well,
I was. Go ahead.
You did a Playgirl article.
I did.
You did, and I don't even know if we can find this picture, but you're in a pair of shorts.
I hope you can't.
You're in a pair of shorts.
She's like, I don't know if we can find. Oh, here it is.
Oh, here it is. Well, I did. I took a picture. It looks like the shorts say. Now you tell me what you think.
I love Leo?
It looks like it says farter.
Oh, it does. It definitely looks. I mean,
it looks like it says farter. And what does it say?
Well, so
I'm like, that is funny if that's what it says.
It's actually a really famous, well, in kickboxing, like in Thai kickboxing, Muay Thai, like one of the most famous gyms is Fairtex.
Fairtex, but yeah,
so they have their own,
see?
you know.
Do you see
So that's what it is. But they're not mine. That's the only reason I wore them though, is because so we showed up and we had like options of skimpy clothes to wear, and I was like, well, at least these are kind of like cool and kind of part of something, because I like martial arts. So I was like, perfect, I'll wear these. But yeah, if I'd known it would be read as farter.
Well, that's okay. We all do. But anyway, so what was that like to have to do? I mean, listen. You have to take your shirt off when you're on a soap. It's like part of the thing.
But time out. No.
No, what?
There are people who have to take their shirts off on a soap, and then there's Paul. Who, I mean, have you and Rob ever sort of like done a tally? But I feel like
but I believe I do have the record for the most.
Scott Wilson, who also takes his shirt off quite a bit.
I'm sure there's a good chance Rob and I are either at parity or he might be a little bit higher on the instances of shirtlessness, but I'm pretty sure I hold the record for the most days consistently shirtless, like without ever putting a shirt on. I think there was a whole week, like a few years ago, when Xander was going through one of his like drunken post-Sarah breakup benders, where I was literally in my underwear for 4 shows straight. And yeah.
Is that written in, or is that a choice?
Yeah, no,
it's written in.
Oh, it's not my choice.
Okay, well, I mean,
it's somebody's choice.
But you're so game to do it, and I think that's fun. You have like a good sense of it.
Yeah.
You also said in this article that the buck tooth.
The chubby, fat Scottish kid that had a flat top, and it'd be really.
So
I mean,
this is true?
That's a big part of it. Honestly, is that I'd been a chunky kid and had been bullied for it and all of that. And I don't want to be like, being bullied is character building or any of that, because it shouldn't happen to people. But still, my response to it was to get into shape.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize I had gotten into shape, I guess, for about 15 years after it had happened. And because of that, once people started accusing me of being attractive or wanting to hire me to take my shirt off, I was like, well, I might as well lean into it. It's better than the opposite. And then having done it so much on days, the biggest thing about doing it on days is the lack of lead time. Like, on Hercules, I knew I was doing that job, a month before I showed up in New Zealand to shoot it. So, chicken breasts and not much else, like, for the whole lead up to that. And also, they really helped me out in that show. Like, I had they could cook all the food for me that I'd want, and I had trainers if I wanted access to them. And plus, you're not going to half-ass it if you're playing Hercules. Whereas on the soap, well, sometimes you don't get a ton of notice that you're about to be shirtless. Or sometimes, if you're me, you forget to read some of the action lines because you're so busy just learning the dialogue, you don't even know what set you're going to be on, let alone what you may or may not be wearing. So what was actually really helpful for me about the show and what made it possible for me to do Playgirl and enjoy it instead of just being like, ugh.
That would have been me.
Well, for me, like up until that point, like I say, I'd always been a bit, not necessarily vain, but like certainly self-conscious and like just wanting to look a certain way when I had my shirt off, whatever. When you do it so much, I got a little more blasé about it all, and started to realize that it didn't matter if I was at like 10% body fat or 18% body fat. What looked good was me being relaxed,
confident,
not trying to just show the pose and just like tense and whatever.
So true. That is so true.
But if I just relaxed and felt comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
And it was really coming back from the pandemic, like because we had 7 months off.
Yeah.
And I thought, the first 3 or 4 months I kept it together. I was like, we're coming back. It's going to be no problem. Keep in shape, keep in shape. Month 4, I was like, forget it. We're done. Started drinking at 2 p.m. Bleh. And so, but when we come back, and of course my very first scene back is me getting my kilt fitted, and I'm shirtless and getting my kilt put on. And for me at the time in my head, I was like, this is the worst shape I've been in as an adult. Oh my God, I can't believe I've done this to myself. So embarrassed, all these years of working out and I'm not in shape. And then I saw the stuff and it was like, oh, it doesn't look that different. And the fans they weren't like, what happened to that pig? Like, none of that happened. I was like,
We all do
maybe
it
it doesn't
ourselves,
matter.
Yeah.
Well, they used to on Young and Restless. They would give us wardrobe would be like, hey, we have a script for 3 or 4 weeks out, and you're gonna have your shirt off. So you did have that month to chicken breast and broccoli. We don't get that.
I don't think it's too hard. We go too fast now, and we don't get at least on our show, we don't get our scripts that well ahead of time.
Right.
But also, I just think as daytime actors, you always kind of have to be prepared. Not me. I'm a little over that age now, but back in the day, you just kind of had to always be prepared.
Yeah.
Because you just never knew.
But I think what you were just speaking to goes beyond just being physically exposed, right? I think it's sort of like the comfort we all get, being more comfortable in our skin as we get older, and that sort of the way we relax into who we are, I think makes you just more confident and I don't know, self-possessed that you are not when you are younger. I remember Emily O'Brien, who is now a co-star of both of ours on Days. She and I were married on Young and Restless, and when we would have love scenes together, I would say, I need one hand here, and she'd be like, I need one hand here, and we would like cover each other. Like we looked ridiculous because there's nothing about it that was relaxed. But if we were to do it now, it would just be, again, I think we are both more confident in who we are.
Don't you have your shirt off on the show?
Not really.
No?
But that's
Only
never,
with me,
only
usually.
with him.
When we're making out or whatever.
Once in a blue moon. But it's also not my lane, which I'm fine with. And once in a while I have to, but it's not nearly as often as you do.
Well, into the Playgirl of it all, like part of, it's not just being shirtless on Days, it's the things you're doing whilst shirtless. Like, business meetings, the hospital, like just all kinds of places where you should probably wear a shirt. You know what I mean? And so I've gotten to the point now of just being kind of unembarrassable. Like I don't get embarrassed by stuff like that anymore. And back to the Emmys, like public speaking and things like that. It's no problem. Like I just can do it now. I don't have that little flutter of what am I going to say? What am I going to do? Like I'll just start talking and hopefully it'll work out. And if it doesn't, there'll be something else tomorrow.
That's what makes you so
to distract,
endearing and so, yeah.
You're the best. You are.
Well, you were asking about the day of the Playgirl thing. What was funny about it?
Yeah, tell us about it.
Well, Andrew's here, so like she'll
Andrew McKinnon,
validate
our
this,
publicist from Days of Our Lives.
I thought you said Andrew.
Sorry.
Oh, it's the Scottish
Andrea,
accent.
sorry.
Andrea. Yes.
Andrea.
Andrea.
So, it's an LA photo shoot for Playgirl in a mansion. And it's supposed to be, gorgeous vistas and sunshine and all of that. And of course, just our luck, it was torrential rain that day. And the big sexy mansion they'd got was now in a cloud. So, the light's very diffuse. There's no contrast for, all the boys were like, oh, you're not going to be able to, even Rob was like, we've got no definition. Like, on my ass going to say.
Yeah,
like,
no definition.
I know. Like, so just straight away, it was just like, like pressure's off. This is already just kind of not what we thought it was going to be.
Right.
And being a nerd, I got there early. And so they had me all like ready to go. And I just remember like walking down the stairs. I think it's one of the main pictures in the article. But I was like walking down the stairs and like, oh, can we just take a picture of you there? And I was like, and I looked down, I'm literally in tight Y fronts, just nowhere to hide. Outside of that, completely naked.
That photo. I think I saw that photo.
I just look forward and just smile. I'm just like, sure, just go. And so I was like, it can't get any more exposed than, I guess it could, but it didn't. But so after that, I was just, all right, whatever you want to do. So wearing farter shorts was nothing after the first sequence.
Our first scenes together were you in a Speedo.
Yeah.
Me in a bathing suit too, but
wow.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
In the living room.
In the living room.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
of the Kyriakis mansion.
Back when we had a living room, yeah.
Oh, so brutal.
Yeah.
What if before we go, what's like the one thing that you've learned from being on a soap or that about yourself or that you've taken from being on something like a soap opera, which is just a
I just really learned how much I want to do all this. Just that it was the right choice, and the acting, being given the opportunity to act as much as we get on shows like this, and with all the different people that you get to do it with, it just reconfirms every day that I made the right choice. There's lots of things I could have done with this life, and there were definitely times where I never regretted the choice that I made, but I certainly felt like I was in relatively dire straits because of the choice that I'd made a few times, and to be on the other touch wood, to feel like I've at least gotten over the hump of that, and so after the whole Emmy thing, my agents and managers took me out for lunch just for a little pat on the back. And they're like, well, how do you feel? And I'm still with the same people I was when I first signed on to go for days. And I get on, they're lovely, lovely people. I'm like, well, how you doing? And they know what my ups and downs about being on the show have been, and my hesitation and their hesitation to do it even in the first place. So how do you feel now? I just looked at them and I was like, it's getting harder and harder to pretend this didn't work out. Like, you know what I mean? And so it's that feeling of gratitude, but also that you can follow your instincts in life and it will work out. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're in a very good place, it seems like.
Currently.
Yeah. Well, but like that's all we have, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of to just stay in the moment and be present to the people in front of you and the job at hand, and don't worry so much about the next thing and the next thing, or what you should be doing, or what
what anybody else is doing, right? Yeah.
You're amazing.
Yeah.
You're easily impressed.
Nonsense.
Take your shirt off, then I'll be impressed. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for being here. You truly are the greatest. I love getting to work with you. I'm grateful that you came and spent time with us here today. You can watch Emmy-winning performances from Paul Telfer and Emmy-nominated performances from me on Days of Our Lives on Peacock. And you can watch any episode of Soapy that you may have missed on the CBS YouTube channel. You can listen to us on the Odyssey app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Thank you again for being here, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. That was lovely.
We'll see you next time.